don't even know if I can. This is gonna be a severe, fucking old ass thing. Oh man. Oh man. No one's in here. I could leave and come back real quick and have all this off if nobody fucking joins in the next fucking minute. I go do that. I go do that and I come back. 1, 2, 3. Damn it. Fuck. What the hell? Now you respond. Cool. So cool that you respond after I fuck. Hey, what's up? I ran out of time. This was supposed to be washed off. I ran out of time. So that's what's happening now, and that's where we're at. No. Don't say that. Oh man. I didn't even finish it. This isn't even finished. This is like half of the get up. I didn't get time to take it all off. Oh well. Yeah. Thank you. I'm an 80s hair metal Satan. That's what this is. Or at least what it turned into. It was... I sent this to Jasmine an hour ago. And she just now, right after I went live, responded. And I have no idea what she said because now I can't check. So awesome. This is so red. And I didn't do my hands because I didn't actually get to shoot any this was the concept art, right? So this was a test. This is just a test. Which I don't hate it. I just didn't do everything that needed to be done. It's not finished. It's not finished. I have fangs that are supposed to go in here. I was gonna put charcoal on the fangs. It's supposed to be a whole bit. And I didn't get to finish. Because by the time I was like, I do like this concept. I'm going to run with this version of things that I have made up in my head for no reason. And by the time I was like, yeah, I like this. I'm going to continue and do the full thing. And then I looked at the time. And that's when I realized I had less than 20 minutes to get everything set up for both the book club and the stream afterward. And that I had no time. So I got just as far as setting up the stream in there, setting up the settings in here and the lighting in here, making coffee, getting my coffee and my water, and checking my batteries and my mod. When I ran out of time. And I got half of this outfit off. There was more to it. And then I was like, it's 7:58. We have to go. We have to go? There's a stream starting in 2 minutes. And we don't have time now. So, this is where we landed. '80s hair metal Satan is happy to be here. Sick. Oh my god. Time was not factored into this equation when I started doing this. Okay, so like the agreement with myself was that I have a load of footage to edit, basically. So I was editing footage, I was editing audio all day for other projects. And my reward was this: if I hit a certain benchmark of chapters edited, that I get to go play dress up for a little bit. I get to go back to my little cosplay corner, and I get to work on something that I've been trying to do for a while and haven't landed on a concept that I like yet. I've done a couple different versions of Satan now, and I didn't really like any of them when I got done with them. Or I, at least after I got done with them and I thought about it, I was like, no, I don't like this. And I've recycled it about 3 times. And then, and so I was like, I'll do test makeup for Satan again, because I had another idea I was kicking around. And some things you like better in your head than on paper, and then when you get done with them, you're like, I don't like that as much. So I started doing that, and I was like, I actually like with this. I like this. I got Swiftblood's horns in here. Swiftblood gave me some horns. I've been wanting to put in something for a hot minute, and so this was a good decision. I'm happy with this. And then I started like super vibing with it, and I was like, I'm actually having a good time. This is looking like I wanted it to for once, and like it looks good with the contacts and the. I needed to blend the red up a little bit more. There's some things I need to like fix, some things I want to change, but like all in all, I like the concept for it. It's not completely where I want it yet, but we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Me and 80s hair metal Satan are gonna get there together. And yeah, so now you know where Satan's at. In case you were wondering where the Johannes content has been, I haven't forgot about it. I just haven't been able to satisfy myself. Internally, we're getting there. Certain characters, I'm like, yes, I have them nailed down. I got them where I want them. I know what I like, and I know what I'm looking at, and I'm good with it. Other things, still in the manifesting phase. Thank you, Swiftblood. Thank you. I appreciate y'all not demanding creative content from me. Y'all are super chill about it. You're like, you'll get there when you get there, and I couldn't thank you guys for being so like supportive without demanding product, because I'm bad at that. I'm like, oh no, now y'all never getting it. 1, because I can't come up with it when I'm under pressure. 2, don't tell me what to do. So I really appreciate you guys being super chill about it. Like, eventually we know we're gonna get the content. Thank you. Actually, yes. I had another Satan idea I wanted to try. Because I want both Satan and Nyarlathotep to have like the same vibe, in a way. In my original Nyarlathotep idea, when I was doing it, someone brought up something and was like, maybe you should not do it that way. And I was like, you're right. Yeah, maybe not. TikTok might not like the way I do that. TikTok might have a problem with it. So I was like, yeah, I don't want to get banned. And so I revamped the Nyarlathotep idea. So then I was like, well, I have another idea. But I wanted to sort of vibe in a similar way. Yes. Yes. Excellent. Yes, we need that mustache. We're working on some weird stuff over here. Dad knows a lot more of my ideas than I've told you on them, just because I want a lot of them to be a surprise. Uh, some of them are weird. I'm happy with it. I'm happy that I'm getting it. Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm gonna get with Jasmine about spider parts, and we should, but we should be able to knock out some content now that I've nailed at least this. I got at least a couple things that we can start doing. I think we gotta get. I gotta get another like kind of pricey thing, but then once I get that, it's like an infrastructure thing. It'll just make it easier for us to shoot. But after I get that, we're in business, and that'll be really fun to shoot. I'm looking forward to it. So much fun. Yes. And I gotta finish making teeth. I got like 3 sets of teeth that I gotta. Yeah, 3? 4. Just 3. Wait. 3 sets of teeth. They're all different teeth. Why did I make it complicated? I was like, I want them to look the same, but like different. Why did I do this? I don't know why I did this to myself, but I was like, Satan's gonna have teeth, Nyarlathotep's gonna have teeth, and Serenia's gonna have teeth, and they're gonna be kind of the same, but not really. So, like, why did I do that? They're all from hell. It makes sense. Okay. Well, you can't really say Nyarlathotep is from hell. He's just associated. Never mind. Forget my dumb ideas. We're reading a book that I'm just complaining that I lost track of time. Hold on. Do I have this plug in? I should plug the phone in. Yeah, and I was gonna put. Never mind. You'll see it eventually. You'll know what I mean. You'll know what I was doing. When you see the finished product, you'll be like, ah, that's why. This was a test. This was a weird test. Different for each clan. Yes, thank you. The classifications of demons are like... It's like different branches of the same family. It's like not all tieflings look the same, jackass. Why did I take this route? What have I done? You know what I meant. Hold on. Oh, it's Jasmine. Jasmine keeps... Okay, I sent a picture of me in this like an hour ago or something to like Jasmine and never responded. Everyone else responded. Jasmine did not. So like Dad responded, Nodi responded, everybody else I know responded. It's only those 2 people. I only know 3 people, let's be real. And Jasmine didn't respond until I went live. And I was like, okay, you can't just... Definitely don't have a teeth drawer because of this in my room. Yeah, because it's offensive. I think it's offensive. There's different branches. Not all tieflings can look the same. Not all demons can look the same. They gotta look different. They don't all... That's stereotype, and it's offensive. Hashtag not all demons. No. Jesus Christ. I'm reading a book. That's what this is supposed to be. We got sidetracked. Yes, get more teeth. Get on the teeth. No, I'm making a wide variety of teeth because I like teeth and I want to look like a ghoul on the daily. So, enabled. If there's one thing I'm glad I could enable you to do, it's get more demon teeth. Not all demons are the same. Yes, thank you, Crimson. Jeez. Crimson would know. We're gonna read a book. If you know, if you don't know what we do the same thing every week. You should know. Y'all know. We read a book. This is book club. I read you a book. You listen to it. If you don't like books or you don't like people reading to you, I don't know, man. There's probably a bunch of other people that you could follow that go live right now that do different shit that you'll like better. Anyway, we're reading Library of Souls. It's part of the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. It is the third one in the series. We are trucking along because are we halfway through? We're almost halfway through if we're not halfway through. Because these chapters are so fucking long, it doesn't feel like it. But we're on chapter 5. No, I don't want a Domino's clipboard. I'm triggered that you would ask. I appreciate the offer, but no. I respectfully, no one mentioned Domino's outside of a work week. That is making me work off the clock, and I don't appreciate it. I'm setting a healthy workplace boundary. It's not fair. I'm joking. I know you're trying to be helpful. I'm not actually upset. That was a joke. But we're on chapter 5, and if you don't remember what happened last time, let me just catch you up. We had an interesting conversation, and by we, I mean Jason, Emma, and Bentham, about... Basically, he's Miss Peregrine's brother, and his brother is Call, and they're all one big, super happy, dysfunctional family, and Call started almost a political movement against the Imbrans, and the history behind how all of them became whites and hollow-gassed. And to wrap it all up, Bentham had a crazy-ass request that we just go and pick up that hollow right where we left it. The one we thought was dead by the bridge, we're just going to go pick it up. Because it's alive, and we need it. For what? Who knows? But we're going to have a super fun time. Because I'm going to just issue a trigger warning. It does not, yeah. But, like, look at this. This is chapter 5, and we're, like, halfway, right? About halfway, but we're halfway. It's wild, because it doesn't feel like that. But, trigger warning for this chapter. If you are... Now, there's no actual... I want to preface this by stating that the act does not actually happen to any living equatable animal. But it does mention animal cruelty and... What's the technical term? Animal fights? Dog fighting. Not dog fighting. It's not dogs. Animal fight ring, animal underground, animal... It's like an underground cockfight, but it's not underground. It's... you get it. The animal... Anyway. Exactly. You say that, Denny. You say that, Denny. But it's actually pretty spot on the nose. You pretty much hit the nail on the head with that one. Yeah. But it's really just the hollow in this one. It does mention other animals. That's why I mention it. Because, well, I don't know how y'all feel about bears, but I like bears. I think bears are fine creatures. Majestic, even. So... These poor bears. I'm sorry. The first time I read it, I was like, oh, but what did they do? Anyway, so I just wanted to warn y'all before we get into it about that in particular. But we're going to have a fun time. Now that's out of the way, who's ready? Two's in the chat if you're good to go. Is my sound good? Can you all see me, hear me? Sick. Chapter 5. The air outside was a toxic-looking yellowish soup, such that I couldn't tell the position of the sun in the sky, except to say it must have been getting toward evening, the light slowly leaking away. We walked a few paces behind Sharon, struggling to keep up whenever he saw someone he knew on the street, and sped up to avoid conversation. People seemed to know him. He had a reputation, and I think he was concerned that we might do something to ruin it. We made our way down oddly cheerful Oozing Street, with its window box flowers and brightly painted houses, then turned onto Periwinkle Street, where the pavement gave way to mud and the houses to shabby, sagging flats. Men with hats pulled low over their eyes were congregating around the end of a seedy cul-de-sac. They appeared to be guarding the door to a house with its windows blacked out. Sharon told us to stay put, and we waited while he went to talk with them. The air smelled faintly of gasoline. In the distance, loud, laughing voices swelled and fell away. It was the sound of men in a sports bar watching a game, only it couldn't have been. That was strictly a modern sound, and there were no televisions here. A man in mud-splashed pants came out of the house. As the door swung open, the voices grew louder and then faded when it slammed shut. He walked across the street carrying a bucket. We turned, watching as he walked towards something I hadn't noticed. A pair of bear cubs chained to a sawed-off lamppost at the edge of the street. They were terribly sad-looking, with only a few feet of slack on their chains, and they sat on the muddy ground watching the man approach with something like dread, their furry ears flattened back. The man dumped some putrid table scraps before them and left without a word. The whole scene made me unutterably depressed. Yeah. Need coffee for this picture. Here you go. If you wanted to see like the most depressing thing you're going to see today. We're having fun. Everybody's having fun. My God. Those there are training drims, Sharon said, and we turned to find him standing behind us. Bloodsport is big business here, and fighting a grim bear is considered the ultimate challenge. Young fighters have to train somehow, so they start out fighting the cubs. That's awful, I said. The bears have a day off, though, thanks to your beastie. Sharon pointed at the little house. He's in there, out through the back. But before we go in, I should warn you. This is an ambrosia den, and there'll be peculiars in there who are lit out of their minds. Don't talk to them. And whatever you do, don't look them in the eye. I know people who've been blinded that way. What do you mean blinded? I said. Just what it sounds like. Now follow me and don't ask any more questions. Slaves don't question their masters. I saw Emma grit her teeth. We fell in behind Sharon as he crossed to the men clustered around the door of the house. Sharon talked with the men. I struggled to overhear while maintaining a slave-like distance and averting my eyes. One of them told Sharon there was an admission fee, and he dug a coin from his cloak and paid it. Another asked about us. I haven't even given them names yet, Sharon said. Just got them yesterday. They're still so green. I don't dare let them out of my sight. Is that right? The man said, approaching us. Don't have names? I shook my head no, playing mute along with Emma. The man looked us up and down. I wanted to squirm out of my skin. Haven't I seen you somewhere? He said, leaning closer. I said nothing. Maybe in the window at Lorraine's, Sharon offered. Nah, the man said, then waved his hand. I'm sure it'll come to me. I only risked a direct look at him once he turned away. If he was a ditch pirate, he wasn't one of those we tangled with. He had a bandage over his chin and another over his forehead. Several of the other men were similarly bandaged, and one sported an eye patch. I wondered if they'd been injured fighting Grims. The man with the eye patch opened the door for us. Enjoy yourselves, he said. But I wouldn't send them into the cage today, unless you're ready to scrape them off the ground. We're just here to watch and learn, said Sharon. Smart man. We were waved in and hurried close at Sharon's heels, anxious to escape the door lurkers' stares. 7-foot Sharon had to duck to pass through the doorway, and he stayed ducked the entire time we were inside. So low were the ceilings. The room we entered was dark and reeked of smoke, and until my eyes adjusted, all I could see were pinpricks of orange light glowing here and there. Slowly, the room came into view, lit by oil lamps, trimmed so low they gave no more light than matches. It was long and narrow, with bunk beds built into the walls, like you might find in the lightless bowels of an ocean-going ship. I tripped over something and nearly lost my balance. Why is it so dark in here? I muttered, already breaking my promise not to ask questions. The eyes get sensitive as the effects of ambro wear off, Sharon explained. Even weak daylight is nearly unbearable. That's when I noticed the people in the bunks, some sprawled and sleeping, others sitting up in nests of rumpled sheets. They watched us, smoking listlessly and speaking in murmurs. A few talked to themselves, reeling out incomprehensible monologues. Several had bandaged faces like the doormen or wore masks. I wanted to ask about the masks, but I wanted to get that hollow and get out of there even more. We pushed through a curtain of hanging beads and entered a room that was somewhat brighter and considerably more crowded than the first. A burly man stood on a chair at the opposite wall, directing people to one of 2 doors. Fighters to the left, spectators to the right, he shouted. Place your bets in the parlor. I could hear voices yelling a few rooms away, and a moment later, The crowd parted to allow 3 men to pass, 2 of whom were dragging the third, who was unconscious and bleeding. Whistles and catcalls followed them. "That's what losers look like," the man on the chair bellowed. "And that," he said, pointing into a side room, "is what cowards look like." I peeked into the room, where 2 men under guard stood miserably for all to see. They were covered in tar and feathers. And here's a picture of them. "Let them be a reminder," said the man. "All fighters must spend 2 minutes in the cage minimum." "So which are you?" Sharon asked me. "A fighter or a spectator?" I felt my chest tighten as I tried to imagine what was about to happen. I wasn't just going to tame this hollow, but do it in front of a rowdy and potentially hostile audience, and then try and get out. I found myself hoping that it wasn't too injured, because I had a feeling I'd need its strength to clear us an exit. Those peculiars weren't going to give up their new toy without a fight. "A fighter," I said. "To really control it, I'm going to have to get close." Emma met my eyes and smiled. "You can do this," her smile said, and I knew in that moment that I could. I strode through the door meant for fighters, buoyed with new confidence, Sharon and Emma following behind me. That confidence lasted approximately 4 seconds, which was the length of time it took me to walk into the room and notice the blood that was puddled and smeared all over the floors and walls. A river of it led down a light-filled hall and out an open door, through which I could see another crowd, and, just beyond them, the bars of a large cage. Here's the room with blood in it. We're having a fun time today, guys. Having a fun time. Super fun time. A shrill call came from outside. The next combatant was being summoned. A man emerged from a darkened room to our right. He was stripped to the waist and wore a plain white mask. He stood at the top of the hall for a moment, as if gathering his courage. Then he tipped back his head and raised his hand above it. In his hand he held a small glass vial. "Don't look," Sharon said, backing us up against a wall, but I couldn't help myself. Slowly, the man poured black liquid from the vial into each of his mask's eye holes. Then he dropped the empty vial, lowered his head, and began to groan. For a few seconds he seemed paralyzed, but then his body shuddered and 2 cones of white light shot from the eye holes of his mask. Even in the bright room, they were distinct. Emma gasped. The man who had thought he was alone turned towards us in surprise. His eye beams arced over our heads, and the wall above us sizzled. "Just passing through," Sharon said, the tone of which managed to say, "Howdy, friend," and "Please don't kill us with those things" at the same time. "Pass through, then," the man snarled. By then his eye beams were starting to fade, and just as he turned away, they flickered and winked out. He walked down the hall and went out the door, leaving 2 wisps of smoke curling in his wake. When he'd gone, I ventured a look at the wallpaper above our heads. A pair of caramel singe marks traced the path his eyes had made across the wall. Thank God he hadn't looked me in the eye. Before we go a step further, I said to Sharon, I think you'd better explain. Ambrosia, Sharon said. Fighters take it to give themselves enhanced abilities. Trouble is, it doesn't last long, and when it wears off, you're left weaker than before. If you make a habit of it, your ability wears down to almost nothing. Until you take more Ambro, pretty soon, you're taking it not just to fight, but to function as a peculiar. You become dependent on whoever's selling it. He nodded to the room on our right, where murmuring voices created an odd counterpoint to the full-throated shouts outside. It was the greatest trick the whites ever pulled, making that stuff. No one here will ever betray them, so long as they're addicted to ambrosia. I peeked into the side room to see what a peculiar drug dealer looked like, and I caught a glimpse of someone in a bizarre bearded mask flanked by two men holding guns. What happened with that man's eyes? Emma asked. The burst of light is a side effect, Sharon said. Another is that, over a period of years, the ambro melts your face. That's how you know the hardcore users. They wear masks to hide the damage. As Emma and I shared a look of disgust, a voice inside the room summoned us. Hello out there, the dealer called. Come in here, please. Sorry, I said. We have to go. Sharon poked my shoulder and hissed. You're a slave, remember? Yes, sir, I said, and went as far as the door. The masked man was sitting in a little chair in a room with frescoed walls. He held himself with unsettling stillness, one arm resting on a side table, and his legs crossed delicately at the knee. His gunmen occupied two corners of the room, and in another stood a wooden chest on wheels. Don't be afraid, the dealer said, beckoning me in. Your friends can come too. I took another few steps into the room, Sharon and Emma just behind me. I haven't seen you around here before, the dealer said. I just bought him, Sharon said. He doesn't even have a... Was I speaking to you? The dealer said sharply. Sharon went quiet. No, I wasn't, the dealer said. He stroked his fake beard and seemed to study me through the hollowed eyes of his mask. I wondered what he looked like underneath, and just how much ambrosia you'd have to pour into your face before you melted it. Then I shuddered and wished I hadn't. And here's the man. You're here to fight, he said. I told him that I was. Well, you're in luck. I just got a prime batch of Ambro, so your chances of survival have shot up dramatically. I don't need any, thank you. He looked at his gunmen for a reaction. They remained stone-faced, and then he laughed. That's a hologast. Out there, you know, you've heard of them. They were all I could think about, especially the one outside. I was desperate to be on my way, but this creepy guy clearly ran the place, and making him angry was more trouble than we needed. I've heard of them, I said. And how do you think you'll do against one? I think I'll do okay. Just okay. The man crossed his arms. What I want to know is, should I put money on you? Are you going to win? I told him what he wanted to hear. Yes. Well, if I'm going to put money on you, you're going to need some help. He stood up, went to the medicine cabinet, and opened its doors. Then the interior glittered with glass vials, rows of them, all brimming with dark liquid, the tops plugged with tiny corks. He plucked one out and brought it to me. Take this, he said, holding out the vial. It takes all your best attributes and magnifies them times 10. No, thank you, I said. I don't need it. That's what they all say, at first. Then, after they get beaten, if they survive, everyone takes it. He turned the vial in his hand and held it to the weak light. The ambrosia inside swam with sparkling, silvery particles. I stared despite myself. What's it made of? I asked. He laughed. Snips and snails and puppy dogs' tails. He held it toward me again. No charge, he said. He said he doesn't want any, Sharon said sharply. I thought the dealer would lash out at him, but instead he cocked his head at Sharon and said, Don't I know you? I don't think so, Sharon said. Sure, I do, the dealer said, nodding. You're one of my best customers. What happened to you? I kicked the habit. The dealer stepped towards him. Looks like you waited too long, he said, and pulled teasingly on Sharon's hood. Sharon snatched the dealer's hand. The guards raised their guns. Careful, the dealer said. Sharon held him a moment longer, then let go. Now, the dealer said, turning towards me. You're not going to refuse a free sample, are you? I had no intention of ever uncorking the stuff, but it seemed like the best way to end this was to take it. So I did. Good boy, the dealer said, and he shooed us from the room. You were an addict? Emma hissed at Sharon. Why didn't you tell us? What difference would it have made? Sharon said. Yes, I had some bad years. Then Bentham took me in and weaned me off the stuff. I turned to look at him, trying to imagine. Bentham did? Like I said, I owe the man my life. Emma took the vial and held it up. In the stronger light, the silvery bits inside the black liquid shone like tiny flakes of sun. It was mesmerizing, and despite the side effects, I couldn't help but wonder how a few drops might enhance my abilities. He wouldn't say what was in it, Emma said. We are, Sharon said. Little bits of our stolen souls, crushed up and fed back to us by the whites. A piece of every peculiar they kidnap winds up in a vial like that one. Emma thrust the vial away in horror, and Sharon took it and tucked it into his cloak. "Never know when one of these might come in handy," he said. "Knowing what it's made of," I said. "I can't believe you'd ever take that stuff." "I never said I was proud of myself," Sharon said. The whole diabolical scheme was perfect in its evilness. The whites had turned the peculiars of Devil's Acre into cannibals, hungry for their own souls. Addicting them to ambrosia ensured their control and kept the population in check. If we didn't free them, soon our friends' souls would be the next to fill those vials. I heard the hollow roar. It sounded like a cry of victory, and the man we'd watched take Ambro a minute earlier was dragged through door and passed us down the hall, bleeding and unconscious. My turn, I thought, and the thrill of adrenaline shot through me. I'm out of coffee. Out back of the Ambro Den was a walled courtyard, the centerpiece of which was a freestanding cage about 40 feet square, its sturdy bars easily capable, it seemed to me, of containing a hologhast. A line had been painted in the dirt approximately as far from the cage bars as a hollow's tongues could reach, and the crowd, made up of 40 or so rough-looking peculiars, had wisely planted themselves behind it. The courtyard's walls were ringed with smaller cages, and inside a tiger, a wolf, and what looked like a full-grown grim bear, animals of lesser interest, at least compared to a hologhast, were being held to fight another day. The main attraction could be seen pacing inside the big cage, tethered to a heavy iron post by a chain around its neck. It was in such a sorry state that I was tempted to feel bad for it. The hologhast had been splashed with white paint and daubed here and there with mud, which made it visible to everyone, but also a bit ridiculous looking, like a Dalmatian or a mime. It was limping badly and leaving trails of black blood in its muscular tongues, which in anticipation of a fight would normally have been whipping around in the air, were dragging limply behind it. Hurt and humiliated, it was far from the nightmare vision I had become accustomed to. But the crowd, never having seen a hollow, seemed impressed nevertheless, which was just as well. Even in this much reduced state, the hollow had managed to knock out several fighters in a row. It was still plenty dangerous and very unpredictable, which is why I assumed men armed with rifles were stationed around the courtyard. Better safe than sorry. I huddled with Sharon and Emma to strategize. The problem, we agreed, wasn't getting me into the cage with the hollow. It wasn't even controlling the hollow. We were working under the assumption that I could do it. The problem would be getting the hollow out and away from these people. "Think you could melt through that chain around its neck?" I asked Emma. "If I had 2 days to do it," she said. "I don't suppose we could just explain to everyone that we really need the hollow, and we'll bring it back when we're finished?" "You wouldn't even get that whole sentence out," said Sharon, eyeing the rowdy crowd. "This is more fun than these blighters have had in years. No chance." "Next fighter!" shouted a woman standing watch from a second-story window. Away from the crowd, a small clutch of men argued about which of them would fight next. There was already plenty of blood soaking the ground inside the cage, and none seemed in a hurry to contribute more. They'd been drawing straws, and a well-built man who was stripped to the waist had just picked the short one. "No mask," Sharon said, noting the man's bushy mustache and relatively unscarred face. "He must be just starting out." The man gathered his courage and strutted toward the crowd. In a loud, Spanish-accented voice, he told them he'd never been beaten in a fight, that he was going to kill the Hollow and keep its head for a trophy, and that his peculiar ability, ultra-quick healing, would make it impossible for the Hollow to inflict a mortal wound. "See these beauty marks?" he said, turning to show off a collection of nasty, claw-shaped scars on his back. "A Green gave them to me last week. They were an inch deep," he claimed, "and healed the same day." He pointed at the Hollow in the cage. "That wrinkled old thing doesn't stand a chance." "Now it's definitely going to kill him," Emma said. And here's a picture. Oh yeah, he's not going to be happy in a few minutes. The man poured a vial of ambro into his eyes. His body stiffened and light beams shot from his pupils, leaving a cataract of burn marks on the ground. A moment later, they winked out. Thus fortified, he strode confidently to the cage door, where a man with a large key ring met him to unlock it. "Keep an eye on the guy with the keys," I said. "We might need those." Sharon reached into his pocket and drew out a wriggling rat by its tail. "Did you hear that, Xavier?" he said to the rat. "Go get the keys." He dropped the rodent on the ground and it scurried away. The boastful fighter entered the cage and began to face off with the Hollow. He'd taken a small knife from his belt and assumed a bent-knee stance. But other than that, he showed little appetite for a fight. Instead, he seemed to be running out the clock by running his mouth, giving a speech with all the blowhard bluster of a professional wrestler. "Come at me, you animal! I am not afraid. I'll slice out your tongues and make a belt to hold up my pants. I'll pick my teeth with your toenails and mount your head on my wall." The Hollow watched him boredly. The fighter made a show of drawing his knife across his forearm, and as blood began to well, he held up the wound. It healed and closed before a single drop could reach the ground. "I am invincible," he cried. "I am not afraid." Slowly, the Hollow faked toward the man and roared, which so startled him that he dropped his knife and threw his arms across his face. It seemed the Hollow had grown tired of him. The crowd burst into riotous laughter, and so did we, and the man, red-faced with embarrassment, bent to pick up his knife. Now the Hollow was moving towards him, chains clinking as it went, tongues extended and curled like clenched fists. The man realized he'd have to engage the monster if he was to salvage his dignity, so he took a few tentative steps forward while brandishing the knife. The Hollow flicked one of its painted tongues at him. The man swiped at it with his knife and connected. Cut, the Hollow squealed and retracted the tongue, then hissed at the man like an angry cat. I'll teach you to attack, Don Fernando," the man shouted. "This guy never learns," I said. "Taunting Hollows is a bad idea." He seemed to have the Hollow on the run. It backed away while the man approached, still hissing and waving his knife. When the Hollow could retreat no farther, its back against the bars of the cage, the man raised his knife. "Prepare to die, demon spawn," he shouted and charged. For a moment I wondered if I'd have to step in and save the Hollow, But soon it became clear that it had set a trap. Snaking beneath the man was all the slack of the hollow's chain, which the hollow grabbed and swept violently to one side, sending Don Fernando flying head first into a metal post. Clunk, and he was out, limp on the ground. Another KO. He'd been such a shameless braggart that the crowd couldn't help cheering. A team of men with torches and electric-tipped taser poles ran into the cage and kept the hollow at bay while the unconscious fighter was dragged out. "Who's next?" the referee woman shouted. The remaining fighters traded looks of apprehension, then resumed arguing. No one wanted to enter the cage. Except me. The man's ridiculous performance and the hollow's trick had given me an idea. It wasn't a surefire plan, or even a good one. But it was something, and that was better than nothing. We, meaning the hollow and I, were going to fake its death. I screwed up my courage, and, as tends to happen while I'm doing something either slightly brave or very foolish, my brain disengaged from my body. I seemed to watch myself from afar as I waved an arm at the referee and shouted, "I'll go next." Before then, I'd been invisible. Now the crowd and the fighters all turned to stare. "What's your plan?" Emma whispered to me. I had one, but had been so caught up with working it out that I'd failed to share it with Emma or Sharon, and now I had no time to lay it out for them, which was probably for the best. If spoken aloud, I feared it might sound ridiculous or, worse yet, impossible, and then I'd lose my nerve. "I think it's better if I just show you," I said. "But it definitely won't work unless we get those keys." "Don't worry, Xavier's on the job," said Sharon. We heard a squeak and looked down to see the rat in question with a piece of cheese in its mouth. Sharon picked him up and scolded him. "Keys, I said, not cheese." "I'll get them," Emma assured me. "Just promise you'll come back in one piece." I promised. She wished me luck and kissed me on the lips. Then I looked at Sharon, who tilted its head at me as if to say, "I hope you're not expecting a kiss from me too," and I just laughed and walked toward the fighters. They were looking me up and down. I was sure they thought I was crazy, and yet none of them tried to stop me. After all, if this ill-prepared kid who wasn't even going to take a vial of Ambro before his fight wanted to throw himself at the beast and wear it down a little, that was a gift they were willing to accept. And if I died trying, I was just a slave anyway. Which made me hate them and put me in mind of the poor kidnapped peculiars who'd extracted souls were swimming around in the vials they all clutched, which made me even angrier. I did my best to channel all that rage into unwavering determination and focus, but it was mostly just distracting. And yet, while the man with the keys was working to open the cage, I looked inward and found, to my surprise and delight, that I was not racked with doubt, nor haunted by visions of my impending death, nor battling waves of terror. I had met and exerted control over this hollow twice before. This would be the third time. Despite my anger, I was calm and quiet, and within this quiet, I found that the words I needed were waiting for me, ready to be spoken. The man opened the door and I stepped into the cage. He'd only just closed it when the hollow started towards me, rattling its chain like an angry ghost. Tongue don't fail me now. I raised a hand to hide my mouth and said in guttural hollow, "Stop." The hollow stopped. Sit, I said. It sat. A wave of relief washed over me. I'd had nothing to worry about. Re-establishing the connection was as easy as picking up the reins of an old compliant mare. Controlling the monster was a bit like wrestling someone much smaller than I. It was pinned and wriggling to get free, but so outmatched by my strength that it posed little danger. But then the ease with which I controlled the hollow was its own sort of problem. There was no simple way to get it out of the cage unless everyone believed it was dead and no longer a threat. And there was no way anyone would believe it was dead if my victory came too easily. I was a scrawny, un-Ambro-enhanced kid. I couldn't just slap it and have it keel over. For this ruse to be properly convincing, I needed to put on a show. How was I going to kill it? Definitely not with my bare hands. Searching the cage for inspiration, my eyes fell upon the previous fighter's knife, which he dropped by the metal post. The hollow was sitting next to the post, which was a problem. So I picked up a handful of gravel, ran towards it suddenly, and threw it. "Corner," I said, and again covering my mouth. The hollow turned and darted into the corner, which made it seem as though the handful of rocks had startled it. Then I dashed to the post, snatched the knife from the ground, and retreated, a bit of bravery that earned me a whistle from someone in the crowd. "Angry," I said, and the hollow roared and waved its tongues as if infuriated by my bold move. I glanced behind me to find Emma in the crowd, and I saw her moving furtively toward the man with the keys. Good. I needed to make things tough for myself. "Come at me," I ordered, and once the hollow had lurched a few paces in my direction, I told it to lash out a tongue and grab me by the leg. It did, the tongue connecting with a sting and wrapping twice around my calf. Then I made the hollow pull me off my feet and drag me toward it through the dirt, while I pretended to grasp for a handhold. As I passed the metal post, I threw my arms around it. "Pull up," I said, "not hard." Though my words weren't very descriptive, the hollow seemed to understand exactly what I meant, as if just by picturing an action in my head and speaking a word or two aloud, I could convey a paragraph's worth of information. So when the hollow pulled upward as I clung to the post, raising my body into the air, it was precisely as I'd imagined it. "I'm getting good at this," I thought with some satisfaction. I struggled and groaned for a few seconds in what I hoped sounded like authentic pain, then released the post. The crowd, expecting that I was about to be killed in what was probably the shortest match yet, began to jeer and call me names. It was time for me to get in a hit. "Leg," I said. The hollow again lashed a tongue around my leg. "Pull." It began to drag me toward it as I kicked and flailed. "Mouth." It opened its mouth as if to swallow me whole. I quickly turned my body and slashed at the tongue around my ankle. I hadn't really cut the hollow, but I told it to quickly let go and scream so that it would look like I had. The hollow complied, screeching and then reeling its tongues back into its mouth. It felt like bad pantomime to me. There'd been a second of lag between my command and the hollow's response, but apparently the crowd bought it. The jeers turned to cheers for a match that was getting interesting, with an underdog who maybe had a fighting chance after all. In what I hoped didn't seem like a fight scene from a low-budget movie, the hollow and I squared off and traded a few blows. I ran at it, and it knocked me down. I slashed at it, and it backed off. It howled and waved its tongues in the air as we circled each other. I even had to pick me up with a tongue and gently shake me until I pretended to stab the tongue and it, probably too gently, dropped me again. I risked another glance at Emma. She was standing in the middle of the group of fighters near the man with the keys. She made a line across the throat gesture at me. Quit messing around. Right. Time to end this. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and went for the big finish. I ran at the hollow with my knife raised. It swung a tongue at my legs, which I jumped over, then another at my head, which I ducked. All as planned. What was supposed to happen next was that I would jump over another tongue at my feet and then pretend to stab the hollow in the heart. But instead, the tongue hit me directly in the chest. It connected with the force of a heavyweight boxer, flinging me onto my back and knocking the wind out of me. I lay there, stunned, unable to breathe as the crowd booed. Kayfabe for the win. Back, I tried to say, but I didn't have the breath. And then it was on top of me, jaws wide and bellowing with anger. The hollow had thrown off my yoke, if only for a moment, and it was not happy. I had to regain control, and fast, but its tongues had pinned my arms and one leg, and its arsenal of gleaming teeth was closing in on my face. It was only just drawing breath, a gagging lungful of the hollow stink, and instead of speaking, I choked. That might have been the end for me, but for the strange anatomy of hollows. Fortunately, it couldn't close its jaws around my head with its tongues extended. It had to release my limbs before it could bite off my head, and the moment I felt its tongue release my arm, the arm with the hand that still held the knife, I did the only thing I could think of to preserve myself. I thrust the knife upward. The blade plunged deep into the hollow's throat. It screeched and rolled away, tongues flipping and grasping at the knife. The crowd went crazy with excitement. I was finally able to draw a breath, a full, clean breath, and I sat up to see the hollow writhing on the ground a few yards away, black blood splurting from its wounded neck. I realized, with none of the satisfaction I might have felt under different circumstances, that I had probably just killed the thing. Really killed it, which was not even remotely the plan. From the corner of my eye, I saw Sharon shaking his open hands at me, the universal sign for, "You just ruined everything." I stood up, determined to salvage what I could. Re-exerting my control over the hollow, I told it to relax, that it felt no pain. Gradually, it quit struggling, its tongue sinking toward the ground. Then I walked over to it, pulled my bloody knife from its neck, and held it up to show the crowd. They screamed and cheered, and I did my best to look triumphant, when really I felt like a giant failure. I was deathly afraid I'd just botched our friend's rescue. The man with the keys opened the cage door, and 2 men ran over to check the hollow. "Don't move," I muttered as they examined it, one of them aiming a shotgun at its head, while the other poked it with a stick and then held a hand below its nostrils. "Don't breathe, either." It didn't. In fact, the hollow did such a great job of pretending to be dead that I, too, would have been convinced if not for the ongoing connection between us. The men bought it. The examiner tossed away his stick, held up my arm like the victor in a boxing match, and declared me the winner. The crowd cheered again, and I could see money changing hands, the disappointed people who'd bet against me grumbling as they shelled out bills. Soon spectators were entering the cage to get a better look at the supposedly dead hollow, Emma and Sharon among them. Emma threw her arms around me. "It's okay," she said. "You had no choice." "It's not dead," I whispered to her, "but it's hurt. I don't know how long it has. We've got to get it out of here." "Then it's a good thing I managed to get these," she said, slipping a ring of keys into my pocket. "Huh," I said. "You're a genius." But when I turned to unlock the hollow's chain, I found myself blocked by a swarm of people, all clamoring to get close to it. Everyone wanted to get a good look at the thing, to touch it, to take a wisp of its hair or a clod of blood-soaked dirt as a memento. I started to shove my way through, but people kept stopping me to shake my hand and slap me on the back. "That was unbelievable." "You got lucky, kid." "You sure you didn't take Ambro?" All the while I was chanting under my breath for the hollow to stay down, stay dead, because I could feel it beginning to squirm like a little kid who'd sat still for too long. It was antsy and hurt, and it required every spare ounce of my concentration to keep it from leaping up and filling its jaws with all the tempting, peculiar flesh that surrounded it. I had finally reached the hollow's chain and was looking for the padlock when the Ambro dealer accosted me. I turned to see his creepy, bearded mask just inches from my face. "Do you think I don't know what you're doing?" he said. He was flanked by his 2 armed guards. "You think I'm blind?" I don't know what you're talking about," I said. For a queasy second, I thought he was on to me and knew the hollow wasn't really dead. But his men weren't even looking at it. He grabbed me by my jacket collar. "No one hustles me," he said. "This is my place." People were starting to back away. This guy clearly had a bad reputation. "No one's hustling anyone," I heard Sharon say behind me. "Just calm down." "You can't trick a trickster," the dealer said. "You come in here claiming he's fresh meat. Never fought so much as a grim cub before. And then this." He swept his arm toward the fallen hollow. "Not in a million years." "He's dead," I said. "Check for yourself if you want to." The dealer let go of my jacket and put his hands around my throat instead. "Hey," I heard Emma say. The guns pointed their guns at her. "My only question," said the dealer, "is what are you selling?" He began to squeeze. "Selling?" I croaked. He sighed, irritated at being forced to explain. "You come into my place, kill my hollow, and convince my customers they don't need to buy my product." He thought I was a rival drug dealer, there to steal his business. Madness. He squeezed harder. "Let the boy go," Sharon pleaded. "If you're not on Ambro, then what is it? What are you selling?" I tried to respond, but couldn't. I looked down at his hands. He took my hint and loosened his grip slightly. "Speak," he said magnanimously. What I said next probably sounded to him like a choked cough. "The one on the left," I said in hollow speak, and then the hollow sat up stiff and straight like Frankenstein's monster come to life, and the few peculiars still nearby screamed and ran. The dealer turned to look, and I punched him in the mask. The guards didn't know who to shoot first, me or the hollow. That split second of indecision was their undoing. In the time it took for them to turn their heads, the hollow had flung all three of its tongues at the closest guard. One disarmed him, while the remaining two grabbed him by the waist, picked him up, and used him like a battering ram to knock down the other. Then it was just the dealer and me. It seemed to dawn on him that I was the one controlling the hollow. He dropped to his knees and began to beg. "This might be your place," I said to him, "but that's my hollow." I made it wrap a tongue around the dealer's neck. I told him we would be leaving with the Hologast, and that the only way he would survive is if we were allowed to go in peace. Yes, he agreed, his voice shaking. Yes, of course. I unlocked the padlock and unchained the hollow. With the crowd looking on, Emma, Sharon, and I led the limping hollow toward the open cage door, the dealer in front of us saying, "Don't shoot! No one shoot!" as best he could with a Hologast tongue collared around his neck. We locked the cage behind us with most of the spectators still inside, then walked out through the Ambro Den, back the way we'd come and onto the street. I was tempted to make a pit stop to destroy the dealer's Ambro supply, but decided it wasn't worth the risk. Let them choke on it. Besides, maybe it was better not to waste the stuff. If there was even a tiny chance that those stolen souls could one day be reunited with their owners. We left the dealer on his hands and knees in the gutter, gasping for air, his mask dangling from one ear. We were about to put the whole filthy scene behind us when I heard a tiny growl and remembered the Grim Cubs. I looked back at them, torn. They were at the end of their chains, straining to come with us. "We can't," Sharon said, urging me on. I might have left them if Emma hadn't caught my eye. "Do it," she mouthed. "It'll take just a second," I said. It took 15, in the end, to make the hollow uproot the post the cubs were chained to, and by then a gang of angry addicts had gathered outside the Ambro Den. It seemed worth it, though, when we left with those cubs trailing after, chains and posts dragging behind them, slow and encumbered until my hollow, in a gesture all its own, scooped them into its arms and whisked them along. It quickly became obvious that we had a problem. We'd walked only a few blocks, but already people on the street had noticed the hollow. To anyone but me, it was just a half-visible collection of paint splotches, but it still attracted attention. And because we didn't want anyone to see where we were going, we had to figure out a subtler way to get it back to Bentham's. We ducked into a back street. The moment I stopped forcing it to walk, the hollow sank into an exhausted squat. It looked so frail there on the ground, bleeding, its body curled into itself, tongues tucked away in its mouth. Sensing its distress, the cubs it had rescued snuffled against it with their wet, wiggling snouts, and the hollow reacted with a quiet snarl that seemed almost tender. I couldn't help feeling a pulse of affection for all three, estranged siblings of a sort. "I hate to say it, but that's almost cute," Emma said. Sharon snorted. "Dress it up in a pink tutu if you like. It's still a killing machine." We brainstormed ways to get it to Bentham's without it dying en route. "I could close that wound in its neck," Emma said, offering a hand that was just starting to glow. "Too risky," I said. "The pain could snap it out of my control." "Bentham's healer might be able to help it," Sharon said. We'll just have to get to her quickly. My first thought was to run across the rooftops. If only the hollow had the strength, it could have carried us up the side of the building and bounded to Bentham's out of sight. But right now, I wasn't even sure walking was an option. Instead, I suggested we wash off the hollow's white paint so that no one could see it but me. Absolutely not. No way. No, sir, said Sharon, shaking his head vigorously. I don't trust that thing. I want to keep an eye on it. I've got it under control, I said, slightly offended. So far, Sharon shot back. I agree with Sharon, said Emma. You're doing marvelously. But what happens when you're in another room or fall asleep? Why would I leave the room? To relieve yourself, said Sharon. Are you planning on taking your pet Hologhast into the water closet? I said. I guess I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. The paint stays on, said Sharon. Fine, I said irritably. So, what do we do? A door banged open down the alley, and a cloud of steam came billowing out. A man emerged, pushing a wheeled cart, which he parked in the alley before going back inside. I ran to take a look. The door belonged to a laundry, and the cart was filled with dirty linens. It was just large enough to fit a small person, or a curled-up Hologhast. I'll admit it, I stole the cart. I wheeled it back to the others, emptied it, and made the hollow climb in. Then we piled the dirty laundry on top, lifted the bear cubs in, and wheeled the whole thing down the street. No one gave us a second look. And that is the end of chapter 5. A chapter with a reasonable length for once. If you can believe it, the hollow becomes the bathroom sentinel. Your optimism for that is astounding. The bathroom sentinel. That's good. And the next chapter is a sort of comparable amount of pages as that one, which is kind of slick, man. That's 2 chapters that aren't over, like... I know, right? It almost feels like a lie. I'm like, man, we got done early. No shit. It was a reasonably long chapter. And I'm so used to, like, reading a little bit faster to get all the content in, because all the chapters are 60. I kept telling her, I was like, you could slow down. You can slow down. And I'm like, no, 1 speed now. And we have to get through 45 pages or more. There's no 20 to 30 page chapters in the... Never a normal chapter length. Oh my god, I feel like you've been misled a little bit with the hollow, and I don't really know what to do about it. I don't know how much of a priority I need to make this. Between, like, disabusing you of notions, especially when you're really happy about them. It's not gonna become the bathroom sentinel. I would love that there's like a pet vibe Yeah. I love that you all are like, yeah, it's a pet now. We're gonna keep it as a pet. And the bad thing is that part of me knows that Jacob also has a similar idea. He's like, this is my pet now. And if that doesn't tell you that that is exactly why it is not going to happen, that makes, I know it's just going to make you all sad that it's not going to be good boy pet times. I would love, 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 love for it to be good boy pet times. But it isn't. It isn't fun boy pet times. It's not him's good boy. It's that's not how it. If why friend shaped if not friend. God damn it! You both commented the same thing, very close succession, and I know you guys did that independently of one another. It's the bad bit. Um, it is not friend shaped at all. It the thing is you can't even see if it's friend shaped because you can't see it. Nobody can see it except Jacob. It's not friend shaped. And I know you guys aren't even gonna like what. You guys are not gonna like what happens, and I'm not emotionally responsible for all of you. One of you maybe. No, I can only pick one at a time that I'm emotionally responsible for. I apologize to one person, and the rest of you all suffer. But no, thinks it's kind of friend shaped. He does. That is the biggest problem. Is he's like, oh, that's kind of cute. They're all kind of like, oh, Toby. Toby's friend shaped. Jacob can see it, and he says friend shaped. Yeah, but it's not. Oh, it depends on your definition of boring. It's not. It's not boring. It's not happy. It's not. It's not happy. He does kind of have terrible judgment. That is true. He should not be in charge. This one worked out not terribly, but part of me was also like, shut up, Jacob. Do not raise your hand. Do not volunteer as tribute, you dumb piece of shit. Can we be pragmatic about this for once in your life? Fucking think about some bullshit before you open your stupid, stupid. Didn't even tell anybody. Anyway. No, and also, but like, for the people who have not read it, it's not even necessarily what you think. Like, you're like, oh, he's gonna lose control over the Hollow, and the Hollow's gonna blah blah blah, and the Hollow's gonna. That isn't even what. That isn't even what you should be afraid of. It's sad. It's just bad. Things don't work out. Stuff doesn't work. Steve is not friend shaped. What? What is happening right now? What is happening in this chat right now? I'm glad you think so, is the most passive aggressive response. Don't worry about it. Okay, I won't. We're gonna do cat facts. I don't need to know everything that goes on in my chat. Cool, then I won't. The Hollow better not. You'll see what happens with the Hollow. You'll see. You'll see. And we'll get it. And it'll be, oh, ow. Get out of my way. Get. Some of the hair is caught. There we go. Okay, ow. No, 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 no. No, no, no. We're gonna do, cat facts. And these ones have pictures, don't they? Yeah, they have little pictures. Okay, for a second I thought my TikTok went straight out the window. Do you all want cat facts? Okay, cool. Because we were going through different domestic cat breeds, so we're gonna learn about different domestic cat breeds. So this will be fun. That way we can get them all in before everybody has to go to bed. So it's nice. Because I know some people gotta go to bed because they work early, like responsible people, and aren't night gremlins like the rest of us. So what do you mean the hollow chapter? Do you mean into the list of domestic cat breeds? Because it's not cat. It's not friend shaped. It's not a cat. It's not a cat. They do describe it quite cat-like in some instances. It's not a cat, though. It's not a cat. It's not in the book, so I'm not covering it. I write a fake entry and include it in alphabetical order in here just because. No. No, we're doing... And if we're going alphabetically, we wouldn't even get to the hollow one until H, which is several weeks from now, if not. Damn. Oh, man, there's a lot before H. Yeah, it would be... Yeah, and it would even be at the end of the H category, because Himalayan is... Anyway, whatever. Okay. I'm going to make an entry myself. You draw a little picture of the hollow. Oh my god. That sounds so... Because mine sounded way lazier, and I was going to just... Never mind. Okay, Abyssinian. We're doing Abyssinian. It's alphabetical order. We start with A, motherfuckers. Oh god. The Abyssinian cat is a slender, graceful, elegant cat named for the Ethiopian Empire where it's believed to have originated. This cat is distinguished by its unique coat, which appears solid-colored overall with some gradients, but is really made of multicolored individual hairs. The Cat Fancier's Association lists 4 colorways for Abyssinian cats: ruddy, cinnamon red, blue, and fawn. Abyssinian cats are active, playful, and curious, with friendly personalities that can belie their subtle, regal beauty. They have long limbs and tails, with coloring that intensifies at the tips and lightens under their bellies. Abyssinian kittens have starker versions of their adult coloring, with fluffier fur that eventually grows into a lush, dense, medium-length adult coat. These cats can make great pets for those who want a cat that is friendly and engaging, more of a dog temperament than the stereotype of an elusive cat. These cats need a lot of attention and can get lonely without it. They also thrive in a place with a lot of toys, activities, and vertical spaces where they can explore and play. The rumored first Abyssinian cat is kept alive in illustrated form, a tiny-eared specimen named Zula. There's a picture. Look at this little cat. Look at that cat. He's so cute. And that was a picture of a white in the first book. So... Oh no, wait. It was the first one that he encountered was what killed his grandfather was speculated to be a hollow. So He technically don't know, though. He kind of dumb. So it could have been a hollow. And it could have been a white. We don't really know. Speculated it's a hollow. I'm assuming it's a hollow. But he pretty dumb. And he hadn't seen a white yet. Put that back in there. That was a shitty drawing and we all knew it. We gotta make a better one. I could do better. The police artist doesn't know what they're fucking doing. Yeah, that's true. I remember the picture. It was a hollow then. Yeah. Because I was like, it was one of the other. There's too many people coming up into people's houses in this series. That how the thing is, you'll understand why I get confused after we hit the time loop. And I'm not elaborating on that. But there are too many bitches coming up in too many houses in this series. And not all of those bitches are humans. Quit taking my ideas, Swiftlet. Son of a bitch. Don't. How did you already know that was what I was doing? You ass. Shut up about my Hologuest ideas. I was already planning on cosplaying to get out. There's a mosquito also that's really annoying me the entire time. Who said that first? Because I just saw Swiftbloods. Or we make a mask with tentacle. And I was like, I already had a system in place for this. They wouldn't move though. It would just be for pictures. You would just move them by hand. I was going to do it in a strobe-esque sequence. Anyway, whatever. Screw my ideas. Don't talk about my ideas. It wasn't. I was just thinking of making Toby a mask. Well, Toby would probably look way better in it than me. My face is real dry. Real extra. I have a lot of plans. I only got to do a certain amount of those plans today, but I got a decent amount done, and I feel pretty good about it. I'm in a very good mood. This took ages. I wish I would have gotten to finish it, and then I could shoot stuff in it, but I would have to expand up into the hairline, and I'd have to do my arms and my neck, and I'd have to get the jacket on, and I'd have to get the teeth, and I'd have to put the charcoal on the teeth, and then I'd have to put the lights and then once I shot the content, I'd have to go back and edit it so that I could do the lights the way I need it to, because I would have to make a box for the thing. There's so many reasons why I would never get this done today, but I still acted like I was gonna. Because for the record, I started this at like 5, right? But I spent, from the time I woke up this morning, editing, and I was like, once I reach this benchmark, I can do fun things. And then I did do that, and I was like, I looked at the time when I got done at 5, and I was like, I can do some amount of things that are fun for me, and that I will do the thing, knowing full well, I was like, we will not be cosplaying this today. We will not be shooting content. This is a test. And then I got a period of the way into the test, and I was like, this isn't a test anymore. We're going to do the whole thing. And my brain was like, no, we're not. We don't even feasibly have time for that. And I was like, whole thing, baby. And I was like, no, we can't. Logistically, we can't. And I knew we couldn't. And by God, it hit 7:35, and I looked down, and I was like, oh no. Case closed. I'll finish it. Ow. We just hope for the best the day of. Great flying colors, thank you. I do want you over with a test cold, with a cold. I don't care. Um, Dave will probably stay out of your way. I'll take vitamin C. I don't give a shit. And the thing is that this is great timing because I was just gonna go get my flu shot, and this will be fine. We're gonna be fine. I drink a lot of water, I work out a lot, and I take a lot of vitamin C, and I don't give a shit. I just sort of do the Justin Roberts thing where I'm like, just drink some tea and honey about it and move on. And I'm like, okay, that's how I live my life now. I'm going to Justin Roberts my way through that. It's going to be my new game plan. It's just Justin Roberts my way through things. And I want to see you, and that's really the only big reason. I have to have one day a week where where I just get to chill peacefully with you, because everybody else in my life is insane, and you're not, and you calm me down, and I need that because otherwise I would panic constantly. Is the secret. That's always my game plan. Okay, well, I mean, like, you don't. Okay. If you need tea or something while you're here, or a blanket, we have so many blankets. As I'm sure you know. There's so many blankets. You can lay down. I was actually going to ask if you wanted to play Cuphead, but now I'm revamping that whole scenario. I. I'm sorry that you woke up to this. If you woke up to this, I'm sorry. You know, I have a responsibility, and I feel like this is not. Oh no. I'm so sorry you just woke up. Oh no. Yeah, Cuphead. The Cuphead of, yeah, you love Cuphead. Oh, okay. I was like, for a second, I thought you were gonna be like so mad. I also love Cuphead, and Jasmine got me back into Cuphead because me and Jasmine were playing Cuphead together the other day, and I was like, why did I stop playing Cuphead? Because it's terrible and it's really hard. But I was like, I'm gonna play Cuphead again, so I've been playing Cuphead. Pretty Crow game is single player. I know, and that was my backup plan. Is I was like, we also gotta play Death's Door because we still haven't, and we it's not, no. And Cult of the Lamb, we've made a decent chunk of time, but we've also played that 2 weeks in a row. And we have other games that we've started and I haven't finished. I also, like, still technically haven't even beaten Binding of Isaac for playing it for so long. So, we'll get it done. We're gonna play all the games. As long as it takes. Over and over. Every Tuesday at 8. I don't think you know how I play video games. I have to play until I get everything. That's why I can't finish an RPG ever. I have to get every single item, complete every single quest. It's why I don't often succeed in like playing games like Genshin for too long. Because Genshin's really fun, but I can never be satisfied. Genshin drives me crazy, and it will become my entire life because I have to. I have to get all the characters and all the items and all the quests. In Genshin, that is physically impossible. But on games where it's more obtainable, like Cuphead. Obtainable. Hard. hard to obtain, a challenge, but obtainable. It even gives you a percentage when you go to boot it up of how much you finished of it. But you can do it. You can. And I will. And I'm going to try until I can't anymore. And I'm going to feel real good if I ever do it. That's the thing. Genshin, impossible, out of the question. We play Genshin when we have nothing else to do and no more money to buy a game that I can't complete. But Cult of the Lamb, Death's Door, Cuphead, all those are obtainable. And it's only a matter of time. Oh yeah. Skyrim is another one. I love Skyrim. I love playing it. It's so much fun. Can't. Can't. There is no try, only do. Correct. Yeah. My thing in Skyrim is sort of the same thing. It's get an animal, love animal, put animal in house. Animal is your only life, become a hermit in the woods, accept nothing from anybody. Like, I just stop playing the game because at that point it just becomes so overwhelmingly unobtainable that I won't. I'll just go make my happy little house, live alone, fill it with cheese and books. All the books in the game go in the house filled with cheese. I can't play Skyrim seriously. And exactly. See, that's a nice, yeah, that's the thing is when games get overwhelmingly, like, when I realize that I'm not going to be able to beat it, I stop taking it seriously. So Genshin is in a similar vein. Now, I just run around as Barbara, acting like a total hooligan. I don't take the game seriously anymore, because I know I'm never going to be able to obtain it. There are some times where I'm like, oh, I want that character, I want that thing. But largely, I haven't done a main quest area item to progress the story at all. Like, I've just been running around, acting like a complete weirdo the entire time. I cease to take it seriously when I realize I'm never going to beat it. And I'm like, nope. No way. Occasionally, when I get in a weird mood, I'll be like, I'll progress the story a little bit so I can get to this area. Like, gotta go over here so I can unlock Sumeru, but not anything, trying to progress the story. The minute I do progress into a new area, I just go fuck off into the mountains. Let me build my dream house. Yes. That's what it is. I almost got, and I knew I should not, right? And I didn't. But because Dad talks about it so much, and purely because TikTok thinks I like it, and clearly thinks I play it, I almost got Stardew Valley the other day. I was sitting on my couch and I was like, I should get Stardew, and I was like, no. No. You know how many endings in that game? You know how many people you can marry? How many things you can do? Never. You don't have the time. You work for a living. All of your free time, booked. Until the edit's over, at least. Booked. We don't have time for you to get into Stardew Valley. There's no, little bit. You're not going to be like, play it for a little bit, figure it out. No, you're going to make it your entire personality for 6 months. No one is going to hear from you for 3 to 4 business weeks. We can't do Stardew Valley. You've heard enough about it from other people, and TikTok's targeted to what they believe is a Stardew Valley avid player. You know by the content that you are receiving and that information that you are not going to be able to do it. You're gonna make it hard. It's supposed to be a cozy game. Nope. Now I can do Borderlands. I love Borderlands. I I am the bad person, but I am the toxic Borderlands player. That's like I have to play every single class. I have to play. I have to play through it multiple times. I still haven't even played Borderlands 3 because I'm still busy on Borderlands 2 because I never completed everything. And I can't play 3 until I play 2. But I have them both. They're bought. They're purchased. They're sitting in my Steam account. So, it's not fair. And that's one of the reasons why I never finished playing We Happy Few. There's too much stuff to do. I love We Happy Few. I would love to complete the game. But there's also the odd fact that, like, every time I boot it up to do something else, I forget how to do things. And then I accidentally take all my clothes off, and then someone sees me break into a car or something. It's always an accident. I forget how to do stuff in the menu, because you gotta operate the menu in a very specific way, and then it's like, you take off your suit, and then you can't figure out how to put your suit back on. Or you try and open a call, you try to talk to somebody, and the button is too close to, like, open the boot of this car, and then you accidentally open the boot of the car, and then they're like, he's stealing, and then they chase you through the village. I love that for you. I love Borderlands. Borderlands is so much fun to me. All right. Well, um, we're gonna start a video game stream. I'm gonna see how far I can get in Death's Door. We'll see how far I get. I'm gonna try my best. I've been getting a little bit better, so we'll see. And it's also we haven't reached the place where I'm really having struggles with um, on the stream file. It's just on my personal file. I just know it's coming, and I'm afraid I'm gonna get to it on stream, and I'm not gonna be emotionally prepared. But I've only ever completed one game. I've cosplayed Lilith since 2 came out. It's a problem. That's not a problem. That sounds like the opposite of a problem, but like whatever, it's just my opinion. Who cares? Anyway, what if I did a Handsome Jack cosplay? Don't talk to me. Anyway, don't nobody responded that. I'm gonna take that and I'm gonna put it in my back pocket and we're not gonna talk about it. And we're gonna start a video game stream here in a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and get off here because my face, this whole area, very dry. Also, this wig is unanchored. I just put this on to see how it looked, and it bothers me that I didn't affix it in any way. It is just floating here through some sort of sheer miracle and the fact that I don't move much on these streams. So, I'm going to take care of that, and me and Dad are going to go live and play Death's Door and see how far we get. I will see you next week, hopefully. I better. At 8 p.m. Central on Tuesday, every Tuesday. And if you don't, well then you can at least join me for the game stream afterward at 10 p.m. Central. And it'll be a fun time. Yeah, moisturize. That's what it is. And I'll see you guys next week.